Welcome back, subscribers. This video is going to be a real quick one. This is going to be, and you're like, thank God, because you like to just go off on these tangents. It's going to be about perception of your own personal reality relating to investments and things that you hear from other people. And this is super important. And I want you to think about this from a very broad perspective. All right, from like a 30,000 foot perspective. And where I'm going with this is I'm going to give an example, and I want you to just let your imagination run, and then I'm going to bring you back down to earth. All right. So if somebody says to you, you hear in passing, be like, oh, all you're going to really need, this is an investment world, and this isn't investment advice, but you hear this from somebody. You're in the locker room, you hear it you hear it repetitively through the internet and so on and so on. You're only going to need one Bitcoin to have generational wealth in the future. All right. And if I said that statement, just one single blanket statement, and then I tell that to a crowd of people. All right. And I'm going to use another example for this. If I tell a crowd of, I'll compartmentalize it, right? Like I'm going to cordon it off. I tell it in the country club, at the country club bar, and be like, well, what kind of country club? Be like, well, it's a golf country club. And I'm say like, well, what are the dues? Well, there are no dues. It's open to the public. Or if I said, well, there are dues, the initiation, the dues are, say, $350 a month. And you're like, okay. And I'd say like, well, what are the initiation fees of the place? So whenever you go into one of these clubs, they'll have an initiation fee. So some of them, some will waive the initiation fee just to kind of get people to go in. So that's a lower level club. One that people want to really get into, that's like real money. We've got some in Raleigh that $50,000. Some are more, $250, whatever, $150, to get into Augusta National, to be a member of Augusta National. I don't know what it is. It's like invite only, and it's probably millions of dollars, annually, because it's a very small, exclusive, private, elite club. But at any rate, do you see what I'm going with this? It's like the people that are going to be able to afford that space, to be inside that space, are going to have a perception. If that was said, if that was saying, well, you're only going to need one Bitcoin to have generational wealth. Now, if I said that in the country club down the road, that's no initiation fee, $350 a month, or I said in another country club, right, I'm just making my rounds, spreading the good news. And if I did that, the perception would be what? Would it be exactly the same? You're like, well, no. Well, if somebody's willing to pay $50,000 initiation fee and $350 a month or whatever the fees are at the club, and they're driving $150,000 S-Class Mercedes, right? Their perception of that would be that if they were told that inside that space, then that would assume that it would have to ratchet up to what their impression of generational wealth is, okay? Just like if I said that to somebody if that same thing was said inside of the Tractor Supply store, okay, all right, and someone just like bumped into you, and you're looking for a part for a 50-year-old tractor, and somebody's like, hey, here's a quick tip. If you just own one Bitcoin, you know about cryptocurrency? Oh yeah, man, I heard about it. If you own one Bitcoin, you'll have generational wealth. Oh man. Oh, well, shoot. All right. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Or example, let's just spread it. And now we're talking about, this is like one of my videos is called Snake Oil. Just step back, when you become emotionally invested, when somebody throws something at you, you need to just take a yoga breath and be like, pump the brakes and be like, whoa, hold on a second. Is it worth me, investing my consciousness into this information? Pump the brakes. All right. And this is rampant all through all social media. And it's not just with investing. You have to think about everything that you do and make a choice of a decision is a transaction. A transaction is your investment. So the investment, whether it's representative of Bitcoin, crypto, dollars, yuan, whatever it is, you're happy, you're sad, you're mad, you're glad. Every single thing that you do has some sort of an investment element to it that has value to it, right? You value, if I give you, be like your cherished memories of like, oh, XYZ, when I was with this person, it was great. And da, 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 right? Those memories are worth something to you, right? And they're unique and special to you, right? They're priceless. Same thing. So every time that you have one of these emotional experiences, it's a transactional experience. So if I took an arena full of people, all right, it's we're in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and it's the big house, and there's 110,000 people, all right, watching a football game. I think it holds like 110,000 people. It's a lot. That's why I call it the big house. So and I got up there and I said, hey, just letting everybody know, if you own 1 Bitcoin, you're going to be, generational wealth. And inside the stands, right, what do you have? You have different areas. The people that are sitting on the 50-yard line, all right, and they're paying those are the premium tickets in the stadium. 50-yard line, like on the field, all right? That's, the first 10 rows. Those are prime seats. Box seats, that's another one, all right? You're in the boxes, and it's a catered, and so people you've been to these things. Those are the premium seats. So their perception is the high-end, high roller perception. Oh, shit, that probably means that it's going to be worth, millions of dollars a coin. And the nosebleed in the end zones, all right, it's going to be like, well, shit, like I'm working on my car this weekend, and I'm working my 9 to 5, and da-da-da-da-da, and their stature of where they are based upon their financial and their perception of their reality is very different. Same thing comes with emotional. I was just talking, Kate and I were talking, my partner and I, Kate, were talking last night. And I said, most everybody goes through falling in love and heartbreak and things like that. And I said, and the emotional vibrational feeling that the person has is very similar to other people. But is it Hollywood worthy, right? How much, if you told the story about your heartbreak, how robust is it? How vested were you really at the moment in time when you were rug pulled, right? And you had your heart broken? How vested of it were you all in? Like most people are like, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. And be like, well, tell me about it. Like, well, what built into it? Like, what types of music were you listening to? Foods that you were eating, places, like what were the seasons that you experienced together? Right? You see, all of those elements and things all make a difference. For example, would it be, just going off on a quick tangent here, would it be different if you fell in love in, say, 1776, right? They're doing all this shit over here in Philadelphia, and you're in Philadelphia, and you're an 18-year-old guy, or you're a 15-year-old female, and you're being courted by somebody, or you're doing the courting to somebody else, and be like, and then you're being swooned and fall in love. Or probably back then you'd be maybe a 15-year-old girl, and you're being married by a 40 or 50-year-old guy. Whatever. Anyway, that was the thing back then. So, if that was the case, but you were actually really like were falling in love, you felt that feeling. It's the same. It's probably similar to the same, but the conditions are like different. Be like, yeah, I haven't showered in a month, and she kind of smells like an onion, and I smell like whatever. Like there. Okay, so you see what I'm saying? Like there's all kinds of different like elemental factors. So like if you took the person from the 1776 and you fast forward to them and be like, oh wow, like you guys like are clean, and you're shaven, and you're everything is tighter, and the clothings are better. Like, whoa, these yoga pants look great. Do you see what I'm saying? Like it would increase the intensity based upon the moment in time, depending upon when you're in. So the same thing, you have to also look at, where is your stature, and what are your experiences relating back to, say, money. So when somebody says things, all these things are rampant through the internet. If people are saying things that the market's going to crash, or Bitcoin's going to be generational wealth, and you only need to own 1 Bitcoin. We heard from somebody that you're only going to need to own 0.2% or 0.21% of a Bitcoin, and you'll be fine. And be like, well, based on what? Be like, when I heard that, I'm like, this guy's a freaking idiot. Like, do you not understand that? Let's say it's worth $1 million. All right. Now, like in my space, if I had $1 million, is that generational wealth? Meaning I could transfer it to another generation? Yes, probably. Does that mean that it's like kick your heels up and quit? Absolutely not. And in this day and age, it's like, no, absolutely not. That might seem like that's a shit ton of money. It might be, again, to somebody else. Like if you're making $50,000 a year or less than that, or whatever the number is, sub 100, and you live in you just rent, and you rent an apartment. There's a difference between, like, if you live in HUD housing opposed to a $10,000 a month apartment. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like, well, yeah, I live in an apartment, but it's publicly assisted. I'm on public assistance. So if I own this, well, maybe that might actually apply to you. All right. But for somebody that is spending more money, that isn't going to really affect them. Does it mean like, well, the rich get richer and they perceive a no. People are like, you're missing the boat. It's like that you have to look at it from this perspective of when someone says something like that, it's garbage, because they if you have a flock of people that are listening to you, you have to think like, did you do the research to find out exactly where all these people are at? Like is their property paid? Do they own a property? Is the property paid for? Do they have a mortgage? Do they live in an apartment? Do they have children? Do they have a job? What kind of job? Are they a professional? You see what I mean? It's like it's very complicated. And then for somebody to say some blanket statement like that, and someone to come in, so real money and intelligence would come in and say like, well, hold on, bud. I mean, like, this is an entrepreneurial perspective. We're looking at a number of different facets of people that are successful. We look at a number of different facets. So when somebody that's at the top of the heap says something like that, it's some declarative blanket statement. This would happen in sports, like if football. If you had a coach that would come out and say like, hey, hey guys, we're going to do X, Y, Z, da, 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 da. And you come in at halftime, right? You have the pregame, like, this is what we're going to do. This is the game plan. You come in at halftime and you're getting your asses whipped and it's 40-0, right? And then the coach comes back in and be like, oh, we're going to have to change some things, guys. And they're like really positive. But you're on the field and you're getting hammered. Like, you're outplayed every which way you can. And you know damn well, and be like, he's just full of shit. Obviously, he's not watching the same game we are, And I experienced this in high school. It was pretty funny. We went our junior year in high school, our high school team. We didn't win one game, not one. And we got about midway through the season, and we're like, yeah. Even the rivalry lower level teams that we were probably supposed to be able to win pretty easily, no, didn't happen. So anyway, it was like we could see the writing on the wall. The players could see the writing on the wall, which you were the player. So when somebody says something like that to you, it's bullshit. Or unless you've just been swooned, you've been tricked and duped to have some pipe dream and some lie, and just because everyone's hanging on to it, especially right now where it's like there's so many. It's more difficult. There's the cost of everything is high. We have there's inflation and so on. Things are getting rather expensive, and it's not. So again, like if you had $1 million 10 or 20 years ago, right? That's pretty decent, back then. But now it's like, it's more like 2 million. That's what I've heard of me. Like, oh, if you retire, you probably need at least $2 million. That's kind of a lot of money, That's and then for somebody that's kind of just starting off, the mountain just continues to keep getting higher and higher and higher, right? So anyway, it's just what I'm trying to say is like, get the perspective of where you're at based upon what any one person is saying. And I just use the Bitcoin thing as an example of that, just because I've heard this from some outlets, and I'm like, who the f is gonna believe that shit? So whether it's that or just in general, through the social media sites, when you start hearing it kind of echo chamber and you start hearing more of the same thing, well, where did they get that from? Oh, I just heard it. And you're like, well, let's just kind of like break it down and see if it's possible for that to happen. And if so, if that would mean that if MicroStrategies owns the Bitcoin thing, like 750,000 Bitcoin or something like that, it's a big number. They own the majority of the Bitcoin, and it goes to $1 million or $2 million. What would be the valuation of the company? Do you see what I mean? And that's basically they would be the biggest company. Do you see what I mean? Like, depending upon like wherever, if you're talking generational wealth and you're like, oh, the Bitcoin's going to be worth 10 million or 5 million, you're only going to need 10 XR. Oh my God, the XRP people just absolutely just go fucking bonkers. the XRP, what is it? It's called the rich list, right? And at one time, I remember looking this up years ago. I was like, holy shit, like I'm in like the 4 percentile. Like, wow. And, but they're telling people like, oh, you're only going to need to have 100 XRP. You're only going to need to have this, and be like, are you fucking crazy? You guys are nuts. So, anyway, but they sell that stuff. And I don't do that. And I was like, that's probably why we're not too popular, because humans like to be lied to, and they like to be, they like what's popular, and they like getting smoke blown up their ass. As long as she's good looking, right? Or he's a good looking guy. So, anyway, what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, everything is an emotional transaction to you. And if you become swoon into believing that it's real, then it is real inside of your mind. You're like, yeah, oh my gosh, like generational wealth. And like, if I only have to own this much, well, I could put in 20 grand, and then I can sit on my ass and put my feet up, and I don't have to worry about anything anymore. Wow. Oh, that would be great. Well, that sounds like a perfect world, doesn't it? Hello. Be like, you need to come back down to earth, because you're like a space cadet. Like, that's not what's actually really happening. And for the people that are, it's like, it's how like basically like a lawyer does business. All right. So when people put out shit information, all right, and snake oil, hey, well, I've had 40 bottles of this shit, and I feel like I'm not getting any better. Well, and then they come to me like, well, sometimes it just doesn't work for everybody. It's like a lawyer would be like, oh yeah, we'll totally get you off. Don't worry about it. I know that you've got 15 murder convictions, and but it certainly seems promising. Yeah, just sign here. I'll represent you. And you go through the proceedings and proceedings, and it'd be like, well, yeah, you're going to prison for life. You got 15 life sentences, and then they're like, and then you say to the lawyer, well, but you said that you'd get me off. Well, we did the best job we could. Sorry, bud. See you on the other side. It's the same thing. So transactions with humans, like there's a loyalty and a element that is not at play. It's front ended. It's like we're selling you some bullshit snake oil scam. It sounds great. It makes me feel good. But at the end of the day, nobody wants to do the work. And it's like, well, if you start getting into the actual guts of how these systems run, then you start seeing like, oh, it is actually pretty lucrative, but not the way that everyone has been saying. And that's what we do with the reservoir. So what I do is like cut through the bullshit and dig into actually like talk to the companies that are actually inside of the crypto space. And what we're doing is we're privately keeping this information to our chest, because it's part of my business. One of my companies is in the process of tokenizing property and putting it on the RWA market, and it's costing us money. It's not cheap. So I'm playing in this market, and the information I get out of it and be like, yeah, you can have it, but you're going to have to pay for it, because it's going to cost me near $20,000 to get into it. So it's like, well, I can show you the world, but you're going to have to pay for a ticket to get in. And that's what we basically do. And in that way, it also keeps a riffraff out and people that are serious about kind of like learning about the new system, instead of just like, kicking this, ball around that has no air in it. Like, oh yeah, we're going to get freaking rich and this is going to be great. And I've told people, I'm like, that might be the case, but what are you going to do with it afterwards? Do you understand that the whole financial system is totally changing? That it is not going to work the same way that it worked before. And those are the things that we talk about kind of behind the scenes. I kind of spill some of the beans, in this site, in the free stuff, when I do on YouTube. But like the actual guts on how to do it and like what's actually working behind the scenes and how people are positioning themselves behind the scenes and what I'm doing behind the scenes, it's private, 100% private. And then what we've done is created a community and be like, oh, if I have to pay XYZ to get in it, oh, well, that's you just talk snake oil or whatever. Be like, you can do it for free. Be like, oh, so you get addicted to it. Like, oh, I see how it's going. You're the kind of guy who would have been making that elixir and putting heroin in it, cocaine. Be like, no. If you contribute, all right, and you're an entrepreneur and you're interested in these markets, and you've got something to contribute, business stories, business histories, basically people screwing other people, and talking about how blockchain is going to be changing some of these elements, these shorthanded deals, walking away from secret societies, you name it, all kinds of different shit. That's all on the table. If you bring something in there that is relevant to kind of the legacy system, but you can see, based upon some of the conversations I've had, you can see how the new financial system, the new digital environment with smart contracts is going to be closing a number of these very large shorthanded deal loopholes that have been running everything for like since the dawn of time. And if you can see that, and you can see like, okay, yeah, I can see how XYZ is applied, I'm really, and you want to move into some of that, if we can have a conversation about that, or you actually have some kind of inside information, like because you're doing exactly the same thing and you can see it, we keep it and we publish it, but it's private. And when you do that, you have free admission into the community. And then we're going to build a community so that other people, as this environment continues to grow, you're going to need to have network of people that are all like-minded, that are all working towards the same goal, because we're going to be competing against all the major institutions. So someone needs to be organizing this. So my background as a general contractor is exactly that. Like, I organize people. I organize to get projects done, commercial projects, residential projects, whatever. I'm like, well, why don't we just do this and get people in here and start making a community? Because I'm like, I need this stuff for my company. I need to have all these people in place. And if I have others that are boots on the ground that are seeing these things happen in real time, that's what I want. Be like, that's my shorthanded deal, but I don't need to make any money off that person. They're going to come in here and then they're going to provide information. We're going to commune together, and I'll share my information. You share your information. Be like, it's open source. But if somebody wants to come in, they got to pay. Simple as that. And it keeps all those people out, because the real money's made based upon having trust and moving forward by having basically an army of people. You're not going to be able to fight these guys by yourself. So at any rate, that's our initiative. That's what we're doing. That's a reservoir. Cheers.